Hi everybody, I'm Tim Healey, the radio play-by-play voice of Sun Devil football, men's basketball, and baseball. It's my pleasure to serve as your host on each and every week's show. Once again this week, we're going to be visiting with two members of the Sun Devil football team, one newcomer and one veteran. The veteran, offensive lineman Emmit Bohle, who missed most of the 2023 season due to injury, but will return to the Sun Devils in 2024. Emmit will join us later on. So too will be one of the newest members of the ASU football program and one of the newest members of the Sun Devils defensive line group, a one-time Arizona Wildcat who is now an Arizona State Sun Devil, as defensive lineman Jacob Rich Kongaika will join us later on. Also coming on the show this week is our athletic department co-host, ASU's Senior Associate Athletic Director for Ticketing and Business Analytics. It's a pleasure to welcome Mike Meitin to the show. Mike, I guess you drew the short straw this week, huh?
I'm excited to be here. It's always fun to talk to you.
Well, thanks for coming on. With football obviously being one of the focal points of this week's show, I thought maybe this would be a good time for you to give our fans and listeners a bit of an update on how football ticket sales are going, timetables perhaps for fans who might want to purchase season tickets for the 2024 season.
Yeah, I mean, you can already purchase tickets for the 2024 season. We made sure to get those on sale as soon as we could. We're having a great response right now. Our season ticket holder renewal deadline is this week, and we're tracking to have a really, really strong renewal. Everybody's coming back on board, which is always a good start. Mm-hmm. And then we'll continue to add new people now that we have the schedule announced. As we get into spring football, the spring game, that's when we really will start promoting these types of things. But they are available now if people are ready to get on board.
So, what's been the response from the ticket buying public on the upcoming move to the Big 12 Conference?
They're excited and they're interested because we're going to see a lot of different teams, right? And I think there's some curiosity there of how that's going to work. And I think people believe that we can be really competitive in this conference, and I think that's exciting as well. We're putting a lot of stuff around. Our first Big 12 home game is Kansas. We're putting a lot of really exciting things around that we'll be announcing some themes and some promotions and some things with the Big 12 that we'll be announcing kind of later, closer to spring football, but it's a lot of exciting stuff coming.
Absolutely. Well, right now, let's take a quick look at this past week in Sun Devil athletics, and we will begin with the 12th ranked Sun Devil wrestling team, which split its final two home meets of the regular season this past weekend, both of them, by the way, at Mullet Arena, and both of them were meets against top 10 ranked opponents. ASU defeated number 8 Lehigh 24-14 on Saturday evening before falling 26-9 to the third ranked Nebraska Cornhuskers on Sunday afternoon at Mullet Arena. The story of the weekend, though, centered around two of ASU's star wrestlers. 125-pounder Richard Figueroa posted wins over two top 5 ranked opponents this past weekend, beating number 2 Luke Stanich of Lehigh and number 5 Caleb Smith of Nebraska. Meanwhile, All-American Kyle Parko on Sunday defeated the nation's number 1 ranked 149-pounder when he scored a 4-3 decision over Nebraska's Ridge Lovett. It was Lovett's first defeat this season. And Mike Meitin, I would have to say that Mullet Arena has proven to be a nice home away from home for Sun Devil wrestling. Yeah,
for both wrestling and volleyball have both done really well over there. It's really helped with our scheduling because we play so many sports here, and this has just given us, it used to be so difficult when only Desert Financial was available for all those teams. We had to work so hard and we couldn't always get the matches that we wanted at the times that we wanted. Now that Mullet has proven to be such a great home for these other sports, it's loosened a lot of that up and allowed us to just have some better game times, better opponents, things like that. So both of those sports have really enjoyed being over there.
I would say so. Next up for wrestling, the Pac-12 Championships that'll take place in Corvallis, Oregon on Sunday, March 10th. Sun Devil baseball is off to Arlington, Texas this weekend to take part in the Kubota College Baseball Series at Globe Life Field, which is the tremendous new home facility for Major League Baseball's defending World Series champion, Texas Rangers. The Sun Devils will take on 7th-ranked Texas A&M on Friday evening and Sunday morning at Globe Life Field in Arlington. And then on Saturday night, the Devils will take on the number 5 ranked team in the country, the TCU Horned Frogs. Coach Willie Bloomquist's team is coming off a 3-2 week at home at Phoenix Municipal Stadium this past weekend, a week that included a win over number 24 Kansas State this past Tuesday and a split of 4 high-scoring games against the Ohio State Buckeyes over the weekend. Slugger Brandon Compton's 6th-inning grand slam homer this past Sunday gave the Sun Devils a 10-8 victory and a split of the 4-game series with the Buckeyes. My broadcast partner Max Rossiter and I will be on the way to Texas with the Sun Devils, and we will bring you all 3 games that the Devils play at Globe Life Field this weekend. Friday versus Texas A&M, our broadcast time will be 4:45 p.m. on KAZG 1440 a.m. Saturday and Sunday's games will air on KDUS 1060 a.m. with coverage beginning at 4:45 on Saturday against TCU, and then on Sunday at 9:45 a.m. against Texas A&M. And Mike, I understand that at last word, baseball was nearing a record in season ticket sales.
Yeah, we're just under 100 season tickets till we get to the season ticket record. We continue. People might wonder, well, how could you be still working towards it? We keep selling season tickets until the start of conference play. What people are finding is that, baseball having a season ticket, like, it's not just if you want to come every game. People are thinking of it almost like, now I have access to go whenever I want, and so kind of changing that perception of I have to attend all 33 home games, but whenever I'm ready to go, I have a ticket and I'm ready to go. That's part of why we're getting there. Plus, I mean, this team's exciting to watch. Like you mentioned, it's pretty high scoring.
Yeah, that's for sure. One of the highest scoring teams in the country right now. Sun Devil baseball. And again, they're on their way to Arlington, Texas this weekend. What a great weekend of baseball that should be at the Kubota College Baseball Series. Softball taking part in competition this past week. As a matter of fact, competition against the Ohio State University was a common thread in Sun Devil athletics last weekend. We talked about the baseball team splitting a 4-game series against Ohio State. Well, the Sun Devil softball team played and defeated the Buckeyes during the course of last weekend's Sun Devil Classic at Club Farrington, our affectionate nickname for Farrington Stadium. A walk-off 2-run 10th-inning homer by Arizona State's Sarah Kinch enabled the Sun Devils to register a 12-10 victory over the Ohio State Buckeyes, as Coach Megan Bartlett's Sun Devils went 4-2 over the course of the weekend at the Sun Devil Classic. The capper to the weekend was a dramatic one, a walk-off grand slam home run in the 8th inning on Sunday by first baseman Shannon Cunningham to give the Sun Devils a 5-1 victory over Idaho State. This weekend, the Sun Devils will be back at Club Farrington as they will host the ASU Invitational at Farrington Stadium. Yet another Arizona State victory over Ohio State came on the courts of the Whiteman Tennis Center, where Sheila McInerney's ASU women's tennis team, ranked 35th nationally, knocked off the number 7 ranked Ohio State Buckeyes 4-1. It was ASU's first win in women's tennis over Ohio State since 1990, and it helped the Sun Devils avenge an earlier loss to the Buckeyes this season on January 27th at the ITA kickoff weekend event. ASU takes on Baylor next Tuesday, March 5th in Waco, Texas. The 20th ranked Sun Devil hockey team will play its final 2 home games of the 2023-2024 regular season this weekend at Mullet Arena, as ASU will host Long Island University with games this coming Friday evening, March 1st at 7 p.m. and Saturday, March 2nd at 5 p.m. The Sun Devils of Coach Greg Powers coming off a split of 2 games up in the frozen north last weekend at Alaska Fairbanks. After losing a 3-1 decision Friday night, the Sun Devils bounced back with a 4-3 overtime win on Saturday on Ty Jackson's overtime game-winning goal 54 seconds into the extra period. Tyler Paley and Alex Coyle will be on hand at the Mullet this weekend to bring you all the action of the 2 Sun Devil home games with Long Island University on Fox Sports 9:10 a.m. and the Sun Devil Radio Network Friday and Saturday. And Mike, I don't think there's any question that Sun Devil hockey has just enjoyed tremendous success now in 2 years at Mullet Arena. What a great facility that is, and what a great home it has been for Sun Devil hockey.
Yeah, it's just been been so fun there. The crowd's been so energetic, and we, obviously we had great crowds last year because we opened the facility, and so there's always that excitement. And we set a bold goal with our sales and marketing efforts to try to match that this coming season, or this current season, and we've done that and actually had more sellouts this year than we did last year. So there has been no new building slide, and then going into that new conference next year, I think we're going to continue to have great crowds, great games, great excitement around all that.
Let's turn to the hardwood now. Sun Devil women's basketball will wrap up its 2023-2024 regular season with 2 home games this coming weekend, and 2 challenging home games they will be, as Coach Natasha Adair's Sun Devils will host the 8th-ranked UCLA Bruins this Thursday, February 29th at 7 p.m., and then will turn around and host the number 7-ranked USC Trojans Saturday at 12 noon. The Sun Devil men's basketball team will have this weekend off before they head to Los Angeles to take on the Bruins and the Trojans, and what will be the final Pac-12 weekend for Sun Devil men's basketball before it's on to the Big 12 Conference next year. A couple of other quick notes for you. Sun Devil beach volleyball, it's off to the program's best start ever, 4-0, having won all 4 of their matches last weekend, 3 against ranked opponents at the Tampa Invitational in Tampa, Florida over the weekend. Among ASU's wins, victories over 12th-ranked Georgia State, number 17 South Carolina, and 11th-ranked Florida International. This weekend will be the first home matches of the season for ASU at the Sun Devil Invitational. Meanwhile, the number 7 Sun Devil women's water polo team split 4 matches at the Barbara Calbus Invitational in Irvine, California over the weekend. The water polo team is headed back to SoCal, to Claremont, California for the Convergence tournament this coming weekend. Our guest host this week has been Sun Devil Senior Associate Athletic Director for Ticketing and Business Analytics, Mike Meitin. Appreciate the updates, Mike. Good to see you, bud.
Yeah, it was good to see you. Appreciate being here.
Drop by anytime. You're more than welcome. Coming up, we will catch up with a Sun Devil football player who missed the majority of last season due to injury, but will be back to battle for a spot on the offensive line in 2024. You'll meet Emmit Bohle when we return in a moment. This is Sun Devil Extra from the Mountain America Credit Union Sun Devil Radio Network. We're back with more of this week's edition of Sun Devil Extra from the Mountain America Credit Union Sun Devil Radio Network. I'm Tim Healey, your host. Glad you joined us this week. The Sun Devil football team will be the focus of the remainder of this week's show as we get set to visit with 2 of Coach Kenny Dillingham's players, 1 newcomer and 1 returning veteran. The veteran is a fellow that we last saw on the field last September 9th in Arizona State's second game of the season, a home game against Oklahoma State, and unfortunately the Sun Devils' second game of the year was his last of the year, because on the second play of the Oklahoma State game, he suffered a serious injury to his left leg, an injury that sidelined him for the remainder of the season. But we are happy to say that come 2024, graduate student Emmit Bohle will be back on the field for Arizona State and battling for a spot on the Sun Devil offensive line in year 2 under Coach Dillingham. Emmit Bohle is our guest on this week's show, on this segment of Sun Devil Extra. It's great to see you, Emmit. And a little bit of news. You've gotten the official U.S. government inspected clearance from the NCAA, right, to proceed for next year?
I have. I got the clearance from the NCAA, and I'm recovering from my injury really well. But thank you guys for having me, and it's great to be here.
Tell us a little bit about what this last year has been like for you. First of all, just go back to the injury. That was not a pretty sight when you went down. What was the extent of the injury and the process you've had to go through to rehabilitate the injury?
Well, we're almost about 6 months out now from the date of injury, so it's been a long 6 months to say the least. Starting from on the field when it happened, it was just brutal. I knew it was probably the end of my season right there on the field. I broke my ankle and I broke my fibula and I dislocated my ankle, along with some other ligament damage. So I could kind of tell just how my leg was sitting and everything that happened, that it was probably my last snap for the year. And that kind of just, I think it just set me up for the rehab process, and I already knew I was gonna have to start working to come back and start the process of return to play. So it was just a straightforward moment from there. I just knew I had a lot of work to be done, and it was just been a long process, but it's gone really well with the help of the trainers, the coaches, the strength staff. It's just been a really, I think everything happens for a reason, so I'm not going to dwell on the injury or anything, but I think it'll help me in the long run.
Yeah. I imagine your teammates and your coaches have really had to help you to get through that process, didn't they?
Yeah, it was great for all my teammates and coaches to be there, having all the guys even just text me like the day after surgery or something. It just felt good to be surrounded by a good group of guys and just have the trainers there helping me every day, just rehab a couple hours a day, every day for however many months, and then we're on the upside now, so it feels pretty good.
I've always wondered what it's like for an injured football player like that. I would guess normally it would almost be like human nature that you sort of don't feel like you're part of the team anymore. How did you feel during that process in that regard?
So I took a couple weeks after the surgery kind of get back into the process, and then I joined the team again. It probably would have been 2-3 weeks later. Started going to games and practices once my injury allowed it. So just like working back into the process, it was accepting, and then just getting back with the team. It takes a little bit because you can't do what you're used to doing. You can't help the team in the way you're used to helping the team.
Yeah.
So you kind of got to find another way to help the team, whether that's in film, on the field, helping with drills, just like being there for the guys, because like we were talking about earlier, we were pretty decimated on the O-line last year.
Yeah.
So just helping those guys learn little things, keep progressing, and keep fighting for the guy next to him.
That leads to my next question. We were going to talk about that. I mean, I've never in 26 years doing ASU football seen a position group as decimated as the O-line was a year ago, decimated by injuries. What was your take on how the guys who were able to stay healthy continued to battle, continued to fight, continued to scratch and claw through a challenging season?
Well, I'm just super impressed and super happy for all the guys fighting and just going through everything we did. It shows a lot of perseverance, a lot of toughness for the guys that were still playing, that were battling through injuries, playing through injuries, to go out there every day, practice, get better, go in the meeting room, and then eventually go out there and compete on Saturdays.
There were two guys in particular that I thought showed great leadership, Joey Ramos and Leif Fautanu. Talk about those two and their role.
Those two did exceptionally well last year. Those are two of my better friends. And just watching them perform and be in the leadership role that they were in, it was really, it was a cool sight to watch them succeed and watch them kind of bring the whole group together, because they were two of the guys that, I know Joey was battling through some injuries too, and I'm sure Leif was as well. But I don't think Leif missed a snap last year. I think he played all the snaps. So I think it was just super incredible for what they did and just to show their toughness and leadership.
Do you envision yourself as being that kind of leader for the group this year?
That's the goal, just be there for the guys. I think last year kind of helped. It showed us what we needed to do and how many guys kind of needed to be ready. You kind of have to have more than the 5 guys that are starting to be ready to play, because you never know what's going to happen. So this year, coming in looking to be a leader, just kind of bringing the guys together, make sure we have all our expectations and standards are held the same, and then just holding guys to an exceptionally high level.
You came to Arizona State a couple of years ago as a transfer from a Division III school, Northern State, in your home state of South Dakota. What were the biggest adjustments transferring and transitioning from D3 to Power 5?
It was a D2 school.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're fine, no problem. In the Northern Sun Conference, NSIC. So I came here about 2 years ago exactly. And then just the speed of the game, just playing against better athletes, just you kind of see everything. Not that the Division II athletes or anything were any worse, but you have a more well-rounded, you have a whole team full of very skilled college football players. And I think that would kind of be the big difference, was just like there's a whole roster full of guys that want to compete and the guys that can play. And then it'd be the top level guys as well. Yeah. So the best is better than what I saw. So just progressing, continuing to get better in run blocking, pass blocking, scheme, knowing what's happening next to me, learning the defense, pressures, coverages, just how they align in the box, and stuff like that. So I think the transition went pretty well. I think so. It's been a good transition, and I think it went really well. Yeah, I think it has too. Obviously, in the offseason, Coach Dillingham and his staff have brought in a lot of reinforcements. You have a lot of new faces in the O-line room. Give us your sense of the vibe in that room and how you think the group's going to be this year. I think they did a really good job of bringing guys in who wanted to compete, guys who wanted to play, and guys that fit what they're trying to build here. we're trying to build that championship team, and it just brings in good guys, bring in guys that want to compete, guys that can push other guys that can make other guys better. So I think in the O-line room this year, we're going to have a really competitive group, a lot of guys that can play football, and it's going to be really exciting to see how it makes us all better as a group. And
it will be the job of your position coach, Sanga Tuatele, to mold that group together. How do you like playing for Coach T?
I love playing for Coach T. He's got a lot of standards. He sets a standard high. We know what he expects out of us, and then we just try and go and replicate that on the field to the best of our ability.
You will be a part, Emmit, of the first ever Arizona State team to compete in the Big 12 Conference. And as a native of South Dakota, everybody knows the Big 12 is a conference based with a lot of Midwestern schools. That must be exciting for you. Share with me your thoughts on heading off to the Big 12 next year.
It'll be exciting to be in the Big 12. Personally, I don't feel like it changes a whole lot for me. Our goal is still always the same. Obviously, it'll be a Big 12 championship instead of a Pac-12 championship, but we're still looking for that championship. It'll be exciting to see what the Big 12 brings. Obviously, there's going to be some changes, and the scheme will probably be little different for some teams. So there'll be adjustments that we're not used to playing some teams. So there'll probably be some adjustments that we have to make that we're not used to, or that haven't made in the past. But it'll be fun. It'll be a good year, and hopefully a very competitive year for us.
Yes, sir. Now you're a grad student. What's your academic status now? Your degree. What do you hope to do once you're done with college?
Hoping to play in the NFL, but
sure.
With a degree, I'd probably be looking into doing coaching, training, some personal fitness, something like that. I love football. I love working out, so something staying in those two areas probably.
You feel good about your move to Arizona State?
I do. It's tough. I always tell everyone when they ask me, it's tough to complain about being here. So it's been awesome. I love being down here. It's great to be a Sun Devil. So.
Well, you've been an inspiration with the way you've recovered from a really serious injury, and it's great. It'll be great to see you back on the field in 2024. All the best to you, my friend. Thanks for the visit.
Thank you very much.
Sun Devil offensive lineman Emmit Bohle, our guest on this segment of Sun Devil Extra. Coming up, we'll close out this week's show with a visit with a one-time Arizona Wildcat who is now an Arizona State Sun Devil. New ASU defensive lineman Jacob Kongaika will drop by for a visit when we return in a moment. This is Sun Devil Extra from the Mountain America Credit Union Sun Devil Radio Network. Welcome back to the final segment of this week's edition of Sun Devil Extra from the Mountain America Credit Union Sun Devil Radio Network. I'm Tim Healey, the radio play-by-play voice of the Sun Devils, and it's been my privilege to be your host this week. As we continue our discussion in Sun Devil football, we're about to meet a newcomer to the Arizona State football program, but not just any newcomer, my friends. This young man is a transfer who comes to Arizona State from the University of Arizona, where he was a defensive lineman for the Wildcats the past 2 seasons, but now will be a defensive lineman for the Sun Devils in the coming years. Last year at the U of A, he was one of the top 20 graded defensive linemen in the Pac-12 Conference, according to Pro Football Focus. He's a product of athletic powerhouse Mater Dei High School in Southern California, and we are happy to welcome Jacob Kongaika to ASU and to Sun Devil Extra. It's great to have you here at Arizona State. How you doing?
Thank you for having me. I'm good.
Well, it's good to have you with us. How strange does it seem to you, I guess to every one of us Sun Devil fans, it just seems like, wow, you don't see that very often. A guy who played at Arizona for a couple of years and now is at Arizona State. Is it weird to you, or is it just part of the day-to-day now in college football?
I think now it's just part of the day-to-day. It's a little weird just transitioning, but overall, pretty much just business.
Yeah. What kind of reaction have you gotten from your new Sun Devil teammates?
Some of them were excited. I know some of them. Some of them were like just confused and just always asking me questions. But yeah, overall it's been pretty good.
Well, it's great having you here. And you know, we've seen it at the coaching level. There have been some coaches in years past that have worked on both sides of the rivalry, but you're probably one of the few players that have played on both sides of the rivalry. Do you feel like you have kind of a unique, you'll get an even more unique perspective on this rivalry now?
Yeah, I think I do. Just understanding one side of it and then now being able to come over here and enjoy this side. So it's pretty cool.
You were a significant contributor last year on a Wildcat team that had a terrific season, winning 10 games in 2023. What were the factors that led you to enter the transfer portal?
Just being able to find more opportunity and be able to just do more for me and my family.
Mm-hmm. And once you got in the portal, what directed you, what led you to Arizona State?
So right as I hopped in the portal, I want to say not even like 20 minutes before or 20 minutes after my name was submitted, Coach Dillingham actually FaceTimed me, and then a bunch of other coaches from ASU has called me, and it was just, I felt a lot of love from here and a lot of just great vibes.
What are some of the vibes, what are some of the things you admire most about Coach Dillingham?
Very energetic, very funny, and very smart and fun.
Knows the game, doesn't he?
Yes.
Big time. Well, give us your scouting report on the D-line group that you're now part of at ASU.
We have a lot of diversity, a lot of big guys, a lot of fast guys, a lot of mobile guys. We just have everything now, so I think we're going to do really well.
And you also have a really good defensive coordinator, Coach Brian Ward. I thought at times last year did some fantastic work. Of course, everyone talks about the game where Arizona State held mighty Washington without an offensive touchdown last year. What's your take on Coach Ward and what will it be like playing in his defense?
I think he's a great man, great coach. I think this scheme is going to fit me and all my other brothers over here very well. I think we're all just going to be able to fly around the ball.
Mm-hmm. You have a new position coach as well. He's new to ASU as you are. Dyron Reynolds coming over to Arizona State from Michigan State and then spent a lot of time in the Pac-12 at Stanford. Tell us a little bit about Coach Reynolds and what it'll be like playing for him.
He's also a very great man to me, knows a lot, very educated on the D-line position, and is just helping me grow as a man, but also as a D-lineman.
Mm-hmm. What was your take on ASU football from the other sideline last year when you were playing for the U of A?
Just a team, rivalry, everything like that, bad blood, but now coming over here, just notice so many great people over here. Just amazing, everything.
Mm-hmm. Were you surprised that Coach Jed Fish left the U of A after the 10-win season to take the job at the University of Washington?
Yes, I was. I really was surprised.
Did that play any role in your hitting the portal in any way?
Before he left, I had left prior, like before everybody had left.
Tell us a little bit about you as a player. What kind of player can Sun Devil fans expect to see this year?
Just very physical, very strong. I like to hit people. I like to run around and just hit people. That's all.
That's part of the job description,
Yes,
isn't it? Give us a sense of how you see your role evolving on this year's team.
I think I'll be able to contribute with stopping the run and being able to put some pressure on the QB and on the O-line.
Mm-hmm. Will you be looking forward to that season-ending game down in Tucson?
Oh, yeah, I cannot wait.
Yeah.
Exciting.
That's the way I think all Sun Devil fans feel about it. Well, it's so great to have you on what we like to think is the right side of the rivalry here at ASU, and thanks for joining us, and all the best to you in your Sun Devil career.
Thank you so much.
That's new Sun Devil defensive lineman Jacob Rich Kongaika, our guest on this final segment of this week's edition of Sun Devil Extra. With that, we bring down the curtain on this week's show, and we thank you so much for joining us. A couple of other thank yous before we leave. Thanks to our executive producer, ASU Senior Associate Athletic Director, Doug Tamaro. Thanks to our terrific engineer producer, Sean Crespin from the Mountain America Credit Union Sun Devil Radio Network. And thanks to our good buddy, DJ Foster from Sun Devil Football for his help in this week's show as well. We will be back next week with another edition of Sun Devil Extra, and we do hope that you'll make plans to join us. Have a great week, everybody. Till next time, I'm Tim Healey. So long for now.